Are you a
10, 9, 8,
Okay, so we're gonna be
Welcome to Gather Geeks, a podcast by BizBash, the place where people passionate about meetings and events come together. This episode is a Gather Geeks special sponsor edition. Here's your host, BizBash chairman and founder, David Adler.
In this very special edition of our new Royal Court series that focuses on event and experience designers, we will hear from the best in our industry. In a sense, our industry royalty. Each season will feature a half a dozen major players who are all navigating a completely new post-pandemic world of events. We are so pleased to be working with Court, the event rental company, and I will be joined in these interviews by my co-host from Court, Lilian Shen. After this preview edition, each season we will bring you 6 different experience designers. And each season we will share their perspective on their worlds. Our first episode features Chicago event legend Tom Kehoe from Kehoe Designs. Tom has completely refreshed his outlook on events and shares with us his journey over the past 2 years and how his company has not only survived but thrived through experimentation and core fundamentals. Traditionally, he and his multiple companies provides captivating atmospheres, technology, and venues for social and corporate events, from product launches and festivals to private client parties and retail openings. On his design philosophy, at the end of the day, he says, it's about the creative culture of Kehoe Designs that allows us to thrive. It's not about the individual, it's about the whole. In these collaborations, I'm just a piece immersed as an equal in our signature celebration. So let's take a listen. I want to find out, I haven't talked to you since the pre-pandemic, how you're doing.
Yeah, we're so lucky. We have bounced back tenfold. It's going crazy. We can't keep up.
And what do you attribute that to? Is it because your reputation was so strong before?
We worked really hard to stay active and alive during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And so we felt like people never thought we took a pause. We did pop-ups, we did virtual, we did parties in a box, anything and everything we could think of. We just did it to stay out there and in front of everyone.
So you were actively hugging your customers.
Exactly. We did 6 pop-up locations, permanent pop-ups for the summer and holiday. So for almost a solid year, we had retail stores that we never had before.
And what were in the retail stores?
Mostly green plants during the summer months, and then in containers, and then we did these party in a box. So we did all kinds of party boxes that you could take home, and from a kid's birthday party, go home and make your own birthday party type thing, to host gifts and all kinds of small home party boxes. So it would have everything from candles and a table runner and place settings and what you need for an intimate 8-person dinner party, and ready to go. And we did them all different themes. And so that was really fun and well received.
Did you partner with food and beverage folks, or did you?
We did for a lot of the virtual things. So we did partner with the caterers. And so we would send those out with the caterers, who then would obviously do all the food. Mm-hmm. And we were shipping them everywhere. And we did mixologist to a chef demo. And then we customized the boxes to whatever they wanted it.
What did you learn from the COVID experience, and what businesses would you never go back into? and what's changed in terms of your outlook? Because it's really, from your personal perch as a leader of a company, you're going to sit there and say, I'm never doing that again, or let's double down on this. What was going on in that head?
We don't want to do retail again. We had a lot of the locations asking us to do holiday shops again this year. We said no, we were happy to close them up. So it was just a different beast, and it's a lot of work and expense, a big overhead for very little sales. But the positive came out. We were asked to design a restaurant. And so I designed Alla Vita restaurant, which was here in Chicago in the West Loop. And that was a huge success. It was fantastic timing for us. We have the capabilities in-house. We have upholstery, woodworking, art. So we literally designed and built out the restaurant ourselves. And so we purchased things like chairs. We bought things that were a quick ship in fabrics that we didn't want. we reupholstered them ourselves in-house, and we were able to open up this restaurant in 4 months. And
Wow.
yeah, and going forward, that's been our biggest learn and excitement, because now we've got 6 restaurants that we're in the process of designing right now.
Oh, it's so funny that you're saying this, because I did a podcast recently with Tom Kehoe.
Oh yeah.
He's doing the same thing in hotels. And it seems to me a broader audience or the talent for the kind of companies, the kind of things that you do.
Yeah.
Is that the future for your kind of work?
Yeah, it's definitely the future for one of our divisions. We're going to really develop this further. And like I was saying, we've got 6 projects on the table right now that we're working on, and it coincides with our shop already. So our events side is operating as is and will continue, but now we're just going to continue to grow this hospitality design group and offer this service.
What about the hospitality design group that draws on your event experience? These guys are trying to get more intimate, or why do they want to hire you guys? You're fantastically talented, of course.
You're so nice. They wanted so much experience, knowing food and beverage in and out, and knowing how to turn and execute the design. So not only can we design it, but we know how to turn it around fast. And we're not a typical interior design firm where we say, oh, we can get this chair, but it's now back ordered, so we're just going to have to wait for it. We know how to source it so we can get things quick ship, and or we build it ourselves in-house.
What is the Tom Kehoe experience that you're delivering? There are obviously the logistics and all that are great, but there's some magic that you're not telling me, because will a Tom Kehoe restaurant be different or have an event feeling?
Give us that preview, Tom.
It's definitely the personalization. It's truly customizing. When we got approached by Boca, was the name of the restaurant group, that they said, hey, we want to do an Italian restaurant, but we don't know what. And we literally just took it and ran with it and said, hey, let's do a casual Italian that people can come to every week. Let's do a great price point, make it hip and trendy, but make it feel like I'm going to grandma's to get great old-fashioned home cooking. And they were like, awesome. And they created the menu, but we created the environment like how we do with an event, so that it is stimulating you all around. Your senses are totally stimulated. You want to be in this space. You don't want to leave. And that's what we wanted to bring to the table. A better design, not just in a look to a restaurant. We want to give an experience, because they go out for dinner and it's their night out. That's their entertainment for the night. Let's give them that entertainment, that escapism. Let's give them a place to escape and have fun and add energy to their life.
With event design, it's temporary.
Right.
How do you approach the longevity of a design when you're designing the way you're designing for a restaurant?
We definitely approach it different, because the materials have to be much more durable. All the fabrics have to have that 10,000 rub. So you have to design it smart. You have to be really heavy duty, and the right materials have to be selected so that it can, the tires can be kicked for years and years. Yeah.
I can't wait. When is your first one's up and running?
It's up and running, and it's called Alla Vita. Check it out. Check out their Instagram. It's a huge success. I had the hardest time getting a reservation. It makes me mad. I'm like, hey guys, can I get in? And they're like, oh, we can get you in at 5 or at 9:45. I'm like,
yeah.
What? So yeah, they're doing really well, better than they expected.
Tom, as you were talking about that, it just really sounds like you're combining old fashioned and new fashioned. Does that sound about right?
It does.
So that's what it prompted me to think. David, you tapped in this a little bit, the temporary versus longevity experience of it. So how are you creating the experience that you're talking about, having people come in and want to stay? How is that changing, and how are you facilitating that to change when people are sitting in one space and continuing this experience through their entire time there, but over and over again?
Sure. It's so much of it is the environment, giving them something visually to look at all around them. You can't just focus on 1 or 2 areas. You have to do a 360. So no matter where you're seated, no matter what your view is, you've got a great view, and you have something stimulating, whether you're watching the kitchen or you watching the energy at the bar, or you have a beautiful window to look out. You have to look at all the visuals, and then the lighting is key. So we have this designed so it looks like it's a sunset. So we have it programmed so that the lighting is going to change every day depending on the actual sunset. So you feel like you have that outside effect. So when you're there in the summer, it's going to be a brighter space versus in the winter. It's going to feel warmer, cozier, a little bit darker. And then the music, bringing up the music level, and so that it does it automatically. You start off with a little bit of higher cocktail beat, the 5-6 o'clock after work, crowd is coming in. And then it quiets down a little bit during their main dinner hour. So it's a little bit quieter, and then it cranks back up. I shouldn't say cranks, but it brings it back up a little bit in the later night when the place is starting to empty a little bit. And they want that vibe for those that are staying and just going to have drinks that are at the bar because they've got a great bar business going. And so it's knowing how to create experiences. And then people feel like, oh, I can stay, or I can get off my table and I'm going to go hang at the bar. And it's lively and vivacious, and it's, somewhere you want to be.
It sounds like you're
That's
doing
incredible.
the attendee journey exercise
Yeah.
to do with events that I guess you're bringing it to restaurants. On the flip side, what are you adding from the restaurant experience to events that you've learned? The way you talk about this, the light and the sun, you're thinking about that already for events, but it's making you think more consciously about that kind of stuff when you do event design in your own.
Yeah. We always keep trying to create escapism in our events, and we're all craving it now so much. It just seems like everyone feels stressed. It feels like the pressure of life, and now different variants of keep popping up that we're all saying, oh, when is this ever going to end? We're in Chicago and we're still doing the masks, and everyone is frustrated with that. And so we're trying to give everyone that escapism. Let's give this. What can we give them that they can forget about their stresses and pressures for, a couple hours? And the events are that. So it's the music, it's the lighting, it's the energy that you can, bring into it. What else can we bring in? We bring in entertainment, whether it's food entertainment, a server, a really cool creative server, or a different way of bringing an appetizer to a guest, or it's a mixologist that entertains and says, hey, here's maybe a drink that you've had years ago. Here's a new twist on it. And here's a cool demonstration of how to make it. And then they're wrapped up into it and they're thinking, oh my God, I haven't had an old fashioned and I love my brown liquor. And then you're just giving them something new and something new to talk about, and a distraction to their everyday stresses.
Are you institutionalizing that kind of thinking in the way you do design? Like you need X experiences, or attention span should be Y, or this should be a reveal. How does your head work on actually taking what you do and allowing other people to design in the way you think?
So our team, we brainstorm with our team all the time, and we really try to dive into what the client wants. What's the goal for their entertainment, for their entertaining their guests? And that's how we then say, hey, this is what we should focus on. We've got, this much time, this much space. And then we really try to hone it in so that it's different for each client. And then that their goals are different, whether it's a corporate situation or a social private event. And we just want to make it so that it's not a steadfast formula, but it's a customized. We have our go-to options of what we just talked about, but it's great. How can we take 3 of these and incorporate it into this event? How can we take 4? Like, what are the best ones to incorporate into events? So we don't do it for every event, because I don't want it to become cookie cutter and have it where it looks like we're just doing, the same thing.
It sounds like what you're doing is you're creating music. You have music. You're creating the way music is written, as opposed to a format or a formula. Like that's artistry that seems to allow you to scale what you do.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Yes. It's like being a conductor and pulling in the right instruments at the right time so that it just creates that perfect crescendo of an event.
I want to go back to something that you mentioned about escapism and how the pressures of today, we just want to get away and immerse ourselves in a different environment. So as a marketing professional, is Instagrammable moments still a thing? Or are we trying to create an environment where folks completely get away from that and are fully immersed in that moment?
Sure. They are still a thing. People still love their photo op. We're all still a camera happy society, and which is good because it's just a playful, fun way for people to interact and to bring in a few little bit more group or expand the ones that they maybe attend with. But we also are trying to create instead of just one or two options, to create environments throughout the space so that it becomes, you have nonstop photo options. And let's give them these really cool vignettes that act as a room decor or a flanking of the space, so that they can, it's a visual stimulation and a comfort, but then it's, oh, I want to be in that. And we make it dimensional. So it's not just a flat backdrop. We try to add a lot of dimension to our designs so that people can get into it and actually feel like they're part of it and play with it a little bit. Just like with your kitten, just the touch of it. Oh my God, the fur, it's so comforting. Touching an animal is so like calming and loving, and it just puts you at ease. But people do we all love to touch and feel, and they love to get in and experience something.
Has the rise of TikTok changed design at all? I just interviewed a bunch of kids the other day, college students, and they were talking about how the TikTok trends, where everybody wants to, instead of doing something different, they want to do the same thing. It seems like events are now a good backdrop for TikTok.
And yes, it's so fun because I'm the older generation. So much of my team is the younger, and they all are on, so many more platforms than I am. And we're all trying to figure out, okay, what's the fun, high energy next step of what's the crowd going to want? And it's knowing that crowd. So when it's a younger crowd, great. Yes, let's give them the standard. Let's give them what they want, so they all can meet up to what their friends have done. And then others, if it's an older crowd that doesn't know TikTok, then we say, hey, let's cater this to just a little bit easier, softer.
You spoke a little bit about the difference in age demographics, but what about international, cross-cultural? This past year of no international travel, really, has that given your team any time to come up with new concepts and methods for integrating cross-cultural events?
Yes. And yeah, it has been frustrating or disappointing to not be doing a lot of our shows. I went to a show just a couple weeks ago in New York, and what was normally a 3-day show for us to go do and buy materials and sources literally was a half day. We did the show in 5 hours, and it was a little bit of a disappointment or saddened. I was sad for it. So much is online. And so I said, great. Hey team, let's schedule a day where we all sit. We're going to go into the conference room. We're going to pull out our laptops, and we're all going to walk a show together as if we are at a trade show, so that we can see new materials, new inspiration images from the exhibitors, but that we're not in attendance, but that have an online attendance. And so we're going to do that because we still need that international experience and exposure to stimulate what we could do here in the States. We definitely are influenced from all over the world, from materials, colors, trends. Seeing what's going on in all the different countries definitely impacts what we can create and design. And even, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Even from within the States, from the West Coast to the East Coast, we're here in the Midwest. And so we have to balance it out. And we also take the inspiration from the East and the West, because often they're a little bit edgier than the Midwest. We bring it in, and then we say to our tried and true staple Midwesterners, hey, this is a good comfort zone of what you can do. Don't worry. The trend is happening, because sometimes the Midwesterners don't like to be the first to do things. So
well, it's interesting though that we talk about Midwest, East, and all that. I haven't traveled that much, so I'm locked in my own little world, and the creativity though among just the little world is empowering. That people aren't necessarily being influenced as much by the outside stuff, but is what their neighbors are doing and what they're seeing online. And
yeah, and don't you see more people being like, how do I say, almost forced to be more creative?
Yeah.
And like I'm noticing it now with holiday decorations, and which I'm loving, because it's, wow, more neighbors are doing more holiday decorations than what they've done in the past. I'm thinking they're home more, they have the time, and they want that creative outlet. And it's great. This is awesome. And so, of course, I still haven't put mine up. I'm going to hopefully do it this weekend. And I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do? I don't want to do the typical, because I view my holiday decorations in my house as a gift to my neighbors. And I want to do something that's unusual and creative that will inspire them, and that they will say, oh, this was cool. I wouldn't have thought of that. And then to see how that trickles down somewhere else.
Is that translating to clients who appreciate design more in general? I think that's the big takeaway, that people, as opposed to let's just do the same thing last year than this year that we did last year.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yes, people definitely truly really appreciate design more. That seems like I feel like the whole world, has taken a step back and appreciates everything a little bit more. And design is definitely one that is really being stepped up because everyone's focusing on it more, which is really nice. And not only good design, but good materials. People appreciate and think, oh, you know what? I don't need to have everything. Let's do a few things, but let's do them really nice.
I have a question for you. And this goes back to what you said your organization did during the pandemic with the party in the boxes and things like that. But you said they're smaller, they're not great. It's probably not something you're going to commit to, but that concept also just reminded me of those subscription boxes. Sustainability in our industry is so important because we do turn things over so quickly. Obviously, you saw to step away from that, but how do you feel, how important is sustainability for you moving forward?
I would say it's definitely important. It's something that people pay attention to and want to know and see what's going on, so that they're spending their money wisely. Everyone wants a good value, and they want to know that they're making the right choice for everything from the environment to their guest experience. So I definitely think sustainability is definitely important. It's a focus.
Are there any specific ways that you can share that you all are taking that into account moving forward, or ways that you're changing up how you approach event design?
Everything and anything from the materials that we use down to recycling, to trying to really feel how this is going to be used. Is this the best way to use it? Is this the best material? Can we use it again? What's the frame? What's the structure? So that it's really designed and smart. So it's not just a good looking design, but it's a smart design. So it's, oh, great. This is smart. This is good and creative and looks good, but it's really has sustainability. We could use it again. We could turn it into 3 more things. And that.
Are you seeing that kind of drive for increased awareness from your clients as well? Or is that more still designer driven?
More designer driven. It's just something that we want to do, that internally, that we try to just make a better impact on the world.
But one of the things I believe, that the whole purpose of events is to scale intimacy. And how do you see that changing? David Tutera, who we know, right, was just hired, he's known as a wedding guy. He was hired by a big brand because the big brand wants that wedding feeling in their, taking their employees back to the office feeling.
Oh,
there's something going on in terms of this sense of intimacy that big corporations want. That they don't want, that hiring a wedding group is no longer a bad thing. It's a good thing because they want that intimacy. What is your feeling on that? Does it make sense, or is it?
Yeah, it is. We're seeing it definitely where it goes back to wanting that a little bit smaller guest experience, where we're seeing people want the lush, doing a little bit more opulent, a little bit more lush, but where pieces are lower, it's not, or else we suspend something from a ceiling. So we don't block sight line. They want smaller tables. We're doing tables of 6s and like a 48-inch round with 6 people. But it's like, great, let's incorporate 20 of those with some 8 tops. And then we'll do some long rectangles for the 8 tops, so that everyone feels a little bit closer, a little bit more intimate. And there's still a large guest count, but they want everyone to be closer together, to feel like they're at a family dinner instead of a big, huge table, a big, huge event. And then we're doing a lot of lounge groupings that are the same, more a nook to give people a kind of a little escape, that they can get away here and have a small private conversation and just keep creating that intimacy. Great. I got to talk with David, but we had a great, conversation and got really caught up. And then I was able to run over and see Lilian and really just get one-on-one time and feel like it was not just the meet and greet and saying hi to everyone and kissing and moving. Yeah. So if people want that intimacy, they want a smaller experience.
So we talked originally about how you went into restaurant design, and now we're also talking about corporate brands tapping into the event planner world. where else do you see us going? It seems like everyone just wants that true event experience now in all areas of
Right?
life.
Yeah. And I think you're definitely going to see it in retail. I think retail is really going to move towards experiences, and a lot of it has. We saw a lot of those pop-ups, and I think the pop-ups are going to continue to happen, and more so the pop-ups. Wow. But in retail, yeah, you're going to see the experiences in retail so that guests or shoppers aren't just going into a store to shop. They're going to go in for an experience. And it's going to be where they can dine, they can have an activity, whether it's a kid's activity. There's the brand Bixby that does backpacks, and they're themed out. They have a boys backpack, they have a rocket ship theme, they have butterflies and all different themes, creating rooms within those themes so that they see their package or their concept, but they get to do things with it. They can jump up and do a trampoline or some kind of an activity that lets them experience the product, but also it was a fun play. They can be in there for an hour, and then they got their backpack, which that was the goal, to go in and get a backpack or a sleeping bag or whatever that is. But to really create that experience and bring that into the retail world, you're seeing our event industry being filtered through restaurants, hotels, offices now, and the retail as well. And also all the malls, there's a lot of dead space and a lot of open space.
What do you think it is? Digging a little deeper in terms of the event industries, I call it event thinking.
Yeah.
What do you think it is? Is it that we understand the flexibility of temporary space, temporary experiences? What is that thing that we haven't exploited in telling people the magic sauce of why events are so powerful?
Yeah, it's that psychology. I feel like it's the analyzing the guests and what experiences, and we really keep focusing on creating, these short-term experiences, and whether you want to call it escapism or, yeah, me too. And for years, that's what I think people do. It's getting into the psyche, and that's what I think the event professionals are really good at.
Is the escapism thing going to last? Is that
Absolutely?
It's the thrill or something? It's the intimacy and the thrill combined? Or
Yeah, I feel like depending on your event and depending on what the goal is, it's the thrill and the intimacy and the excitement, or it could be a way of a brand getting their ghosting of their branding message to you without you knowing it. It could be creating an environment like those butterfly backpack. Your child is having so much fun in this butterfly room, but they don't realize they're absorbing the love of a butterfly, and then this love of, oh my gosh, I have to go home with a butterfly backpack, and so they're subliminally trying to get you to really think through what their brand or that experience is. So every time you put on that backpack, that experience comes back and you think, oh my God, that was so fun. That was such a wonderful experience.
is that you talk about? I love when you talk about this being behind the scenes and subtle. Is that changed? Were we more in your face pre-COVID, or is it? How have you changed in a sense? It's your perspective that's changed.
Yeah. And I definitely love the softer ghost approach, is what I call it. So it's an approach where it comes in subtle and quiet, but it's there. And the name and the brand or the message is there, but it's done quiet, subtle, soft. And to me, it's a little bit more memorable or lasting, instead of the let's to your big and loud and scream it so that you walk away and think, oh, that gave me a headache. I'm going to forget about that for a minute. And whereas the other kind of soaks in and seeps into you versus a jarring hitting you.
Were we guilty of that before? In many cases, but you've always kind of been never like in your face brand throw up logo, which is what Google calls it. Like the old school marketers were about that.
Yeah, agree. And yes, that's just not my DNA. I'm a much more, low key, subtle guy. And so that's my natural. That's why I've jumped on this comfort zone of ghosting, because it's part of me.
Yeah. And Lilian, Court is even doing a little bit more of that subtle approach to it.
Absolutely.
It's permeated into all aspects of the business.
It really has. And especially it's all about empathy, right? Tom, you hit it on the head. It's psychology and empathy and just making sure that we're meeting everyone where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does
But
it,
I have a curveball because it's been on my mind, and now I have you here to pick your brain and put you on the spot. Virtual reality. Facebook is now Meta, right? So we talk about creating these experiences, escapism opportunities for people to really immerse. How do you see the integration of these platforms affecting event design?
I definitely see it staying. I do. We've had clients that have had a much better response to it than they ever expected. Where one example I'll give you is Chicago Children's Choir. It's a large choir that they travel throughout the world and they do concerts. Within Chicago, they have close to 6,000 students involved. So then they take 100 or 200 students and they do all these international trips and perform, do amazing things. So then when their event fundraiser, their annual event went virtual, without even knowing it, they put it out to everyone that, where they've been in the past. They had 15,000 viewers on their event and they were blown away. Oh my God, we've never had, and their fundraising went through the roof because the reach was fantastic versus just their local reach. And we're seeing that a lot where the reach for the virtual is fantastic. I think there's going to be a lot of people that will enjoy. We help clients. We have a division called Black Oak that does the technical side. And we're helping some clients do the virtual event, even a 3-day conference. And that, I think you're going to see that stay for a long time. People can then attend 3 or 4 speakers that they want to without having to fly to another city or give up so much time. They can give up smaller bites of time, get the education, and there's lots of networking that happens virtually. It's these chat rooms, these activities, icebreakers, things that happen virtually that I do see that this was done well and it's going to stick. I think
is it integrated or separate canvases?
No, integrated. Because all of us still, want the live. And so you're going to have that live aspect and you're going to have, now I'm speaking without proper statistics, say 50% of your audience is in attendance and 50% is virtual. That's still, you then have the capacity to increase your attendance in presence. And then your reach is unlimited as far as virtual.
Yeah. Although my feeling is we've just begun on this. I believe that the face-to-face events are now the trust accelerator and that digital has not yet gotten there yet, but it will at some point when they figure out how to digitize the experiences.
Yeah.
But it's going to work together, but it's certainly, we're in the brick phone age of digital.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's going to just get stronger and stronger.
Yep.
So how do you feel about virtual reality now? The Oculus platforms where people can actually go. Are you thinking of even potentially designing for those type of events and things like that? And what does that look like? What would that look like?
Sure. No, we haven't even, crossed that yet. We do a little bit of it through Black Oak as far as using the virtual aspect, but we haven't designed a room or an environment based on that. So we typically do it for helping our clients make presentations. So they can then literally put on the headset and just visualize looking and seeing a complete 360 of either something that we're presenting or we've done it for other clients, whether it's a design environment where we helped an architect show a client the 360 experience. You're also going to see it where the venues you can log on, and it's just like a real estate. You can walk through a home and see a 360, and you're going to see more and more selling approach. And like David said, we're still in the very beginning stages. That's got a long way to develop, but it'd be so nice to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go shop for a sofa, but instead of running to 6 different stores, I can do this and see them physically and walk around it, and you're going to see it versus just being flat online. It's everything except the touch. It's got a long way to go. There's some good legs to it.
As we end, how is this whole experience? It sounds like you become more optimistic going through this awful experience. What is it for you personally?
It has made me slow down. It has made me appreciate my team even more. I've always have said I'd be nothing without my team. My core group has just been there without any hesitation. And when we said, let's think through what can we do, everyone had that survival mode. And I really feel like the whole world needed a reset. And I feel all the negativity, and I have a lot of views on that. We needed to slow down and step back and appreciate things a little bit more and stop our consumerism. And maybe not, I shouldn't say stop it, but slow it down. We don't all need to have everything, and we don't need to have it today. It's okay if something comes to us in a couple of days. That's my biggest thing. I think we all just need to breathe a little bit more, slow down, and appreciate life. It's precious.
That's a fantastic way to end. I learned a ton. I hope when people have conversations, 1 + 1 = 7. Always.
Yeah, that's a good.
Their head saying, "Oh my God!" There's so many points that I've heard today that I think that people will really want to hear. I think that the escapism thing, that escapism design, is a concept that's a big picture, big thinking thing, which will help a lot of people. So,
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Player FM, Google Play, and Pocket Cast. Be sure to leave us a rating and review. It helps others discover the Gather Geeks podcast. We'd also love to hear from you. You can leave feedback on Twitter @GatherGeeks or leave us an email, gathergeeks@bizbash.com. We hope you'll join us again for the next episode of Gather Geeks. Until then, gather on.